Hello, welcome to my motor learning conference. I'm here expounding on the great works of Dr. Littman, my movement science teacher. He taught me everything there is to know about movement science. And today we're going to talk about motor learning in 3 easy objectives. We're going to talk about it at the anatomical level, we're going to talk about it in a training sense, and then we're going to talk about it in what you PTs are actually going to be doing with your patients and through feedback, okay? So first off, neuron remodeling. That's basically what learning is, all right? Each neuron is connected to each other by these little things called dendrites, and every time you learn something new, there's a new connection that's made. Now that connection is initially not very strong, and it can be easily forgotten about because your body is very efficient and it doesn't want to keep things it doesn't use. So in order to maintain that connection and make it resilient, you've got to practice that skill over and over and over again and reuse that neuronal connection, okay? So that is an anatomical breakdown of what learning is. Moving over to actual practical uses for learning, I like to think of training as the SSD of a person. So it's basically, there's just their mental storage, okay? And that's the acronym we're going to use here to remember these 3 facets of training. The first one, segmented. When you're learning a new motor skill, you want to make sure you break up complex skills into little segments, practice those individually, and then at the end, once you've mastered each individual segment, you combine them all together. Similar to maybe like an Olympic lift, right? You've got the snatch, and you got the clean. You want to separate those 2 movements together because combining them initially might be too difficult for the patient, and you want to make sure that you keep them at that optimal success rate, which is 70%. Now the next piece here, this is spaced. Spaced means you want to make sure you're not practicing everything all at once. You want to make sure that the individual pieces are spaced out. That might make a little bit of slow, but might take a little bit of time, but we want to make sure that it's resilient. And then here's distraction. You want to make sure when they're learning, there's a little bit of distraction going on. It's going to be a slower process initially, but in the long term, it's going to be really good for that. Now, coming over here to feedback, it's the make them rules. You want to make them work first. You want to make them try and do error. That's important. Errors are important for learning. Make them wait. You want to have a little bit of an interval between when they finish a test and then when you give them feedback, so they can do a little self-reflection. And you want to make them think. You want to make them try and figure out what they did wrong first before giving them feedback. And that's all you really need to know about motor learning. That's an entire semester's worth of information boiled down into 3 objectives.